3D printing is used to produce dental models, surgical guides, aligners, temporary crowns, dentures, even permanent prosthetics can all be produced using 3D printing systems. Okay, it builds objects layer by layer and from digital designs using resins, metals, waxes, and thermoplastics and all of that to build them. Is there any person here that have seen a 3D printing of anything before? Have you seen 3D printing? 3D printing, not even outside of dentistry. Think about 3D printing of anything that you've seen previously. So you can see how, yeah, good. So you can see how layer by layer, those things are built together. That's exactly how it happens in dentistry. So it uses those materials that are preloaded to the system to actually build layer by layer a tooth or whatever it is that you want it to build. And this picture that you find, I was looking for the best pictures of images of 3D printed dental materials, so you can have a really good knowledge of what we are talking about. So it builds them layer by layer and helps you to have a well finished work, and it can even do permanent prosthetics as well. So you can see on that image there is something that is attached to the teeth that is used for mounting of that work. So there are different types of 3D printing systems in dentistry. You have the stereolithography, how do you say that? The stereolithography. Okay, I can't say that well enough. The stereolithography system in dentistry. So these are very high. They have high resolution. They are ideal for surgical guides, manufacturing, and dentures as well. So that system that I can't say, it's briefly called the SLA systems anyways. So you have the DLP system. These are the digital light processing system. They are fast and suitable for models and aligners in dentistry. You have the FDM, which are fused deposition modeling. So these ones are less common in dentistry due to its low precision, but again, it is there. It can be used as well, but you just have to be aware that there is low precision in using that one. What are some of the advantages of 3D printing? You have custom appliance with high accuracy can be 3D printed. If you have seen a 3D print of anything, there are, I think I've seen something about online about where people go in China or somewhere, instead of now taking pictures as souvenir when you visit a place, you can actually do a 3D image of yourself. They will produce a toy of you where you sit down, you get scanned with this machine, and that machine can actually produce a 3D image of yourself that you can take as a small toy when you want to go home. Okay, so there is efficient production of complex geometries in 3D printing. So once those images have been captured, you can actually see, regardless of the complexity in that image, in that system, you can see an accurate reproduction of that system when it is 3D printed. Okay, that is very efficient. It reduces lab turnaround time. So those of us that work in the laboratory, in the dental laboratories, you will see that the turnaround time is reduced significantly by the introduction of 3D printing systems. In fact, if you're not using any 3D printer at this time, you will be thinking, if you moved from manual production in the lab to 3D printing, you will hate yourself for not moving any sooner. Okay, again, we'll look at some of the limitations of doing this, which might include that these are expensive and all of that, but if it is something that you can invest in, please try to do it, it will save you a whole lot of time. Cost effective in high volume settings. So in a system where you have high volume of requests, high volume of job coming into the dental laboratory, then using 3D printer is the best way to do it. Is the most cost effective way to actually do it. You just keep rolling out those the prints just like that. It will cut you a lot of time, a lot of manpower, and what have you. So, but there are some limitations of 3D printing. Again, printer calibration and post-processing will be required if you use a 3D printing system. There is material limitations for long-time restoration. So if it is a temporary restorations, then they are very fine. But again, we don't quite have all the materials that you use for permanent restorations and all of that, but we are getting there. Remember, we have talked about reimagining what dentistry might look like in the next 25 years from today. Okay, in about the year 2050, who knows what dentistry might look like. So we'll have most of the materials, more effective, more reliable materials that we will need in dentistry to be able to produce those resources that we are looking for. Regulatory and sterilization considerations. So again, you need to consider that this needs some sterilization. It needs there are some regulations that you need to follow, and all of that. You have to make sure that you are meeting all the requirements that is needed in a 3D printed dental laboratory. Some of the popular systems for 3D printing include Formlab. So this Formlab Form 3B is actually 3B plus. This has a high resolution. Biocompatible materials can be used on this one. And then you have the PrintRay Pro S. The PrintRay Pro S optimized for dental speed and accuracy. That's actually very good, and it's quite expensive though. You have the Asega Mass UV. This has, again, it works with high level of precision. It is compatible with various resins that we use in dental practice, so it's also good to use. So we've talked about the advantages and the disadvantages of those 3D systems, and we've looked at some systems that is available on the market. Now, the other thing is digital smile design. I wanted to get trying to get an image of a digital smile design that you will really understand what we are talking about here. So digital smile design involves using photographs, videos, and digital scans to create a visual smile makeover. It allows the dentist and the patient to preview treatment outcome before beginning the procedure. So this is like magic. Okay, 3D smile design is like magic. It helps you to see what your smile will look like before the process is done. So we need a lot of photographing. If you look at this image here, you can see areas of discolorations that has been marked out. You can see areas where the gum is overgrown, and all of that. You can see the gum margins and all whatnot. So this shows you a clear image of what your smile will look like by the time the process is finished. However, the process is not yet started, so there is nothing as wonderful as seeing yourself smiling even before you actually smile. Okay, so there are key steps in digital smile design. Some of the key steps in digital smile design include the capturing. So the capturing of the facial and the intraoral data. Okay, remember, we call this data because you are taking the images that you collect is referred to as data. So all of those intraoral images that we collect. I don't know how many of you know that we now have some specialized course that you can attend in dental photography. Okay, that's what the people now specializing in dental photography. So they have all the skills. If you go into a place where they're doing dental photography, all the big heavy lighting and all of that to actually capture the best images of the oral cavity. Okay, so one of the initial steps include capturing the facial and the intraoral data for the patient. Then you go into analyzing the facial symmetry of the patient. You look at the smile lines and the occlusal line of the patient to actually try to use your computer system to map it out to see this is the smile line, this is the occlusal line. What do we need to do in order to give this patient a perfect smile? So you design an ideal smile using the digital template. So once you have captured the real image of the patient as it is before the procedure starts, then you can now use the digital template to design an ideal smile for the patient, and you see the patient happy even before the procedure is done. So once the patient now undergoes that procedure, the smile will be very, very impressive, because now we have done a preview of what that patient's smile will look like even before the work is actually done. So the patient here is not just hoping you can give them a better smile. They know that you can give them a better smile because they can already see it. And then you go into fabrication, restoration, or surgical procedure, or whatever that will be used. The surgical guides, the restorations, will now go into the production of all of those things to enhance the patient's smile. What are the benefits of digital smile designs? It enhances patient engagement and satisfaction. Remember, at this stage you are working with the patient, so the patient is engaging in the process. If you are showing the patient a preview of what their smile will look like, if they're not happy with that, they will tell you, no, I don't want that, I don't want the other one, can you do it like this, can you do a bit of that? So the patient becomes involved. So this gives you an avenue to have a patient-centered practice. Okay, so the patient is engaged from the beginning to the end of the procedure. It improves aesthetic planning with accuracy. Okay, so you can be sure that your aesthetic planning will be very, very accurate, because you can see it there. You can have a preview. When you send the work to printer, one of the first things that the printer gives you is a preview of the printed documents. Even before you click print, you can see what that document will look like once it is printed. So if you're not happy, then you can change it and amend the document before sending to the printer. So this is what we get from Digital Smile Designs. Then you get a preview of the design, of the aesthetics of the smile, and then that can be with high level of accuracy. It facilitates interdisciplinary treatment coordination. So in this case, interdisciplinary treatment coordination means that, let's say the dentist is doing it and there is going to be some lab work involved. So the dental technologist can be there from this point of the treatment planning, looking at the preview of the patient's smile that is being designed, and you can see what is expected of you as a dental technician. You need to do a full dental, you need to do a bridge, you need to do a crown, and all of that, and then you can see it there. You're looking at how it will fit, you're looking at the expectation. So all those people can come together to actually collaboratively plan the patient's smile design, and that can come with high level of accuracy. Okay, so it enables more predictable cosmetic outcome. When it comes to cosmetic dentistry, sometimes without a digital smile design, sometimes you might feel like you're shooting in the dark, because you are trusting as a patient that this dentist is going to give you a cosmetic smile that you really, really want to pay for, or that you're really, really paying for, but you have no pre-knowledge of what that smile will look like on you. I've seen a picture, a video of a lady who went for nose reduction. Okay, this lady had a beautiful nose and decided the nose needed to be reduced. However, because there was no pre-design preview of what she would look like after the nose had been reduced, so both herself and her surgeons were only interested in reducing the nose, but they were not. Nobody thought about what she was going to really, really look like, and everybody who watched that video could see the disappointment in the girl after the nose had been reduced. She looked much better with that big nose than when it was reduced. And the damage had been done. You can't undo it. Okay, they've taken out some part from her nose. You can't really undo what has been done. So she had to live with the consequences of that decision. But if they had done something in line with this digital smile design, where they can actually preview what that smile was going to look like, then, or what that nose was going to look like, there would not be any need for the patient